What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to give you my review reaction to the Skeleton Crew. Now, I watched this episode last Tuesday, and I didn't sit in front of my computer to watch it. I didn't sit down to do a review. I just sat down to watch it. Partly because I was tired, and partly because I wasn't sure if it was going to warrant, recording to put up on Patreon for my watch along style videos. I wasn't sure if it was going to work for that. I was a little bit dismayed at the time that I watched it, finding out it was two episodes that dropped back to back. I was in for about an hour's worth of content watching that I wasn't really sure I'd be awake for. So I went ahead and watched the episodes, and I got pretty much what I expected from the episodes, meaning that I wasn't offended by much of anything that I saw in the two episodes. Now, the rest of the week, because I didn't record a review that I know of, I just listened to people talking about the show and what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, even though I held my feelings close to my chest because I didn't put a video out to say what I thought about it until now. For the most part, the show was interesting to me. I wouldn't say it was fun, but I would say it was interesting. And the reason why I thought it was interesting is that it is one of the few things that Lucasfilms has done in recent history where it takes original characters that they created that didn't already exist and tell you a story. Not propaganda, just a story. And I found that refreshing and interesting in a sense that this is what Star Wars should have been all along, even under Disney. You should have just been telling people stories instead of trying to proselytize them with propaganda and agendas and wanting to see what you wanted represented on screen. The franchise is not about that. It never has been. And that's why that stuff injected into it doesn't work. Now, what worked in this show was not really surprising to me because it worked in the 80s. And what I saw in this show was a garbage disposal mashup of a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other movies from the 80s that were nostalgic, people really loved, from Steven Spielberg to Richard Donner, anything that KK had worked on before, thrown into this one show. And it was not hard for me being a child of the 80s. I don't look back on the 80s with nostalgia and thinking, oh, it was just so cool. I wonder what that was like. No, I lived through it. I was a kid in those time periods. So watching this show was a bit like, okay, they read some cliff notes and they're doing the same beats from movies I liked back in the 80s. That was not impressive to me at all. In some ways, it was kind of insulting because while the show was not bad per se, some of the things I saw in it I didn't like too much. The first thing that pops up into my mind that I didn't like too much was the character of Fern. I didn't like her. Why didn't I like her? I don't know. I think I just kind of had an aversion to seeing a young girl man spreading in school. Now, I don't know what she's spreading for, and I don't even like using that term man spreading. But seeing it on a young girl was very, very odd and off-putting. Now, beyond that, the whole idea of this show supposedly hitting on the Stranger Things, Goonies stuff, yeah, fine. It's young kids in a suburban neighborhood riding bicycles and being into geeky stuff. Whoop de frickin' do. I don't think it actually fits in Star Wars. It looks interesting. I don't really think it fits. It seems really out of place. Really weird. Really weird in a, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 kind of sense. That, the Guardians went to counter Earth, the place the high evolutionary kind of made, and it was all animal human hybrid kind of things or anthropomorphized animals. And they living in some suburban neighborhood type of situation. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. So off the bat, it's looking like something else stolen from somewhere else. Another idea picked from somebody else and thrown into this hodgepodge of ideas. Now, everybody that I saw in the geek sphere getting all enamored about this, oh, it kind of hits on the whole Amblin thing of it. Who gives a crap? Do you live through Amblin movies? They weren't bad. But Steven Spielberg didn't make this. Is there aliens in it? Yeah. So, Star Wars. Aliens always show up. So I'm really missing the point where everybody is all excited about this shit to where it's not really anything to be excited about. Now, the first episode, as the episode to give setup, I had problems with because I personally did not like the depiction of the Black father. I didn't. Now, given the situation of the characters and the context of him having to work all the time, his wife having recently passed, and him just being a single father with his son, I kind of got a little, angsty having been a single father with my child. When people were calling the father, or reviewers that I heard called the father, like, what was the word they used? I'm forgetting the word they used. That was kind of fucked up. Basically meant like he didn't care about his kid, non-attentive, something ineffective, some shit like that. And it kind of bothered me because I'm like, you're watching this dude go to work. Who do you think he's working for? Just for himself? And how old is this kid? He can't be by himself without a monitor? He looks old, way old enough to do that. Now, what I didn't like is it seemed like the father was more, wrapped up in work than his child and didn't have time for his child, which is something that happened in the 80s a lot because you had a lot more women in the workplace. That's why 80s babies, Gen X children, are known as latchkey kids because they came home just like Wim came home in this show to an empty house because the adults were out working. So I get that. That's cool. But I didn't like the depiction of the father, like he's just doing work not to be there with his kid. That was kind of off. The other thing I didn't care too much for was the naming of the one melanated character in this shit. Wim. Now, that bothers me because I understand English, apparently, and I understand what it means to have a whim. I also understand how whim is spelled in this show, and it's one letter short of being called a wimp, which he pretty much acts like. Running around screaming for help from the young girl that's there, that's the same age as him. That didn't impress me at all. Kid was bothering me. It's also bothering me because he didn't listen to his damn father. But then again, he is a kid in some senses. Now, watching this first episode, I did get the spirit of adventure in it. Although I had some questions about some stuff that I wasn't overly fond of, I did think they were getting off to a good start with giving you an understanding of the world, a little bit of the mystery with the world, and the setup of how this child craves for adventure, how he idolizes Jedis. Okay, I'm more interested in the stories he was actually reading because it seems like they were stories of Luke Skywalker. And given what happens in the second episode, it makes you wonder, well, how did they even know about any of this stuff? Now, the other thing that I got from watching this show is that KK is a huge egomaniac. And I say that for what I would think is an obvious reason that nobody else I saw mentioned. So it could just be me and my weird observational skills. But the character of KB in this show was a little telling, especially since KB was the sidekick to the Fern character. The Fern character looks like the standard affair for when KK is involved with a show and she wants a character in it that kind of is emblematic of her, kind of represents her. The same fake boyish attitude, clipped hair, strong girl, boss kind of situation. I'm not buying that shit at all. It's in this show. It was in the Galaxy Star Cruiser. It was in some of that other Acolyte BS. And it was also in Star Wars Outlaw. With the character Kate Bess, KB. What I've noticed about KK since her tenure of being in charge of Lucasfilm, she's always tried to insert herself into this stuff. Always. It is not a big leap to make to understand that the reason why Rey sucked as a character is because Rey is KK's self-insert. And that's why she's so beholden to that character, who has all the power with none of the struggle, none of the work. Because, like it happened, she was gifted all the power over the Star Wars universe by its creator, who she has gone out of her way to mock, malign, and try to dispel as that he is not the know-it-all. He is not the end-all, be-all. He's just a man to be pushed away and thrown away like an old broken tool. And that this is hers now. And she keeps putting her inserts in. Fern is another one. And emblematic because of the KB on her friend. Her friend don't even get a full name. She just get 2 letters. Now, in 2 episodes, I was entertained by the first episode And it called into question why people would even be, upset anymore about Anakin being able to jump in the Naboo starfighter and go out and fight in a small little skirmish with the Trade Federation. That I think that argument is now dead. That he shouldn't be able to do that. He's just a kid. Because I just watched a group of kids haphazardly push the start button on a buried starship that's not destroyed or has any problems with hull integrity or nothing like that after being buried under Earth and stuff. Fly out into space and jump to light speed to end up at a pirate haven. Oh, I guess that can happen now. Autopilot is a thing. And they didn't need to learn how to fly. It can just happen for the power of plot. That bothered me. The other thing that bothered me about this, and I was pointing this out to my mother when I was having a conversation with her today about the show, is that if you watch this show and you like the women character, how he behaves and stuff like that, watch The Mandalorian season 2 and see, don't you see the same performance from Grogu? That in effect, Wim just acts like Grogu. The only difference between him and Grogu is you ain't seen him necessarily suck down any frogs yet, and he can talk. But otherwise, they do the same dumb shit. Like, I don't know, pushing buttons they're not supposed to be touching. That's what was bothering me about the kid. He looks and feels so much like a fucking stereotypical put on, like a damn Step and Fetch It show. That the scary, goofy, runaway slave, cowardly person now is just a little kid. That kind of bothers me because I would like to believe that this character is going somewhere. And from what it looks like right now, where he's going, I might not want to be there with his ass because it's just going to be more embarrassing. Now, like I said, this is my reaction review. It's just a reaction, right? I'm not going to review the episode because it's not the worst thing Lucasfilms has made. The Acolyte still exists. But while it was entertaining, I'm not willing to heap a huge amount of praise on it just because it didn't taste like that last shit that we tasted. Just because it's better than that last thing. I'm not going to heap that much praise on it. It was all right. It was definitely more exciting or fun than Dune Prophecy. It was more fun than Acolyte in 2 episodes. But Acolyte is such a low bar. If that was -5, maybe you came up to 3. But it's not making it damn near a 10 on any skit. There's not that much nostalgia in it for that. Uh-uh. When I watch this movie, I see more shades of Treasure Island and Explorers, starring River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke, as opposed to Goonies, just because there's a little Asian kid there with tech on her. Mm-mm. No, I need some more references, some more points of reference before I start bestowing all that on them. I saw more of explorers. Kids build their own spaceship and fly out in space to meet aliens, and the only adults around that think they up to something gets left behind and gets to see them fly away. Yeah, that's explorers. That is not Goonies. Treasure Island and Captain Hook and stuff is the whole thing with the robot being even named Smeed, excuse me. SEM 33 Smee? Really? That's more of a Disney reference than anything else. But it's not surprising because I've told you before, KK is not creative. And what she mainly, is steal from other people's better works and cobble it all together into one she puts her name on. And that's what this looks like. Now, it could change up in episode 3, 4, on up to I think it's 8 episodes for this show. It could change up. Yeah, I could be all jazz because Jude Law moved the key. But there are just force sensitive people out in the world that aren't Jedi. Have you read a book, a comic, anything? They exist. It's fine. Just because he can move something or make a jump, don't make him a Jedi. Jedi and Sith are doctrines you have to follow. It is a school of study. You don't get to be there just because you can move some shit. You could do that before ever getting to the school. But if you want to choose a doctrine, a way to live your life, then you choose a Jedi or Sith route. Technical school or university. So I'm not overly surprised by him being able to move something. Oh, awesome. Ooh. So it's obvious he was the captain from the beginning of episode 1. So where's the double cross coming in? In short, I wasn't overly impressed with the show. I wasn't. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably still give it a 5. Even with the acolyte existing being lower than 1. Still just give it a 5. It's not revolutionary. It's not changing anything. And it's not hitting those nostalgia beats as hard for me because a show like Stranger Things has already done this and exists. So why am I clapping like a circus seal for the copy of this? Doesn't make any sense to me. So even with all that said, I will still watch the rest of the series, and I may do episodics for it and put them up on my Patreon just because it might be fun. I don't need the extra load of work, but I got some time off coming up, so I'll have time to work on videos. So why not? But with that, that's it. That's my review reaction to Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. $sign artisanmc or on PayPal artisanmc, and leave a comment down below on what you thought of the show. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.